A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Otharri versus Lord Windgrace, Negan and Aesi. Yeah, don't even have all our colours there, so that's a mulligan. It's a shame because we've got the Smothering Tithe available. Okay, potential early board wipe. Dockside can ramp us as well. Yeah, all we're really doing is ramping into our commander, I think, there. A Rampant Growth from Lord Windgrace. And now a Reaver Cleaver. Obviously no point going for the Dockside, but I won't go for it this early anyway. Just aiming for Thorium Mauler next turn. Probably Anointed Procession after that, ready for our commander, because we can start making lots of tokens with that, of course. And at some point during all the proceedings, we'll try and ramp with the Reaver Cleaver. Maybe going for the Cleaver onto Thorium Mauler would be a good idea. So Anointed Procession into Reaver Cleaver equipped on the next turn could be an idea, because we obviously get double the treasure tokens with this as well. Negan throwing out a Reckless Fireweaver. Obviously have to be careful just having one creature in play against Negan, because is it everyone has to sacrifice a creature? It's a target opponent, okay, that's good to know. Obviously have to be careful against Negan having a single creature in play, because there is an Edict effect stapled onto that commander. Riveteer's Overlook being played and sacrificed immediately. Okay, a Wayfarer's Bauble. If we go Wayfarer's Bauble here, we could just drop our commander next turn and get tokens in play, which gets us past Negan's Edict effect, so... And then we can start seriously looking at Reaver Cleaver. Yeah, so we'll have to forego the Thorium Mauler here, I think. So we'll get down our commander, try and make a Rebel straight away next turn. And if by some miracle we have our commander in play during the next turn, after that then we can play and equip the Reaver Cleaver if we get into another land. Obviously depends on if our opponents have mana held up as well and we're worried about spot removal. Surprisingly nothing from Negan there, just drops a land and taps out and passes, not before going for 1 damage onto the Lord Windgrace though. Noteworthy lands with Lord Windgrace coming into play. There is Ghost Town and a Khan's Bastion as well. And plussing on the Lord Windgrace, discarding an Anger to that, so all the creatures will have haste because they do have a mountain in play. Alright, and we do get into another land, so the plan is, does it matter if we swing in at a Planeswalker? Whenever it attacks we get an experience counter, so we can swing in at Windgrace here, which is going to be an intelligent idea. And it should encourage our opponents to leave the commander in play. All depends on how capable our opponents are though. We do have Simic Mana that we're playing into here, but our opponents should be letting this down so that we can deal with Windgrace, unless they can deal with it themselves of course. And it is allowed into play thankfully, so go through to the attack phase. And we get our first experience counter from Otharri, so we'll have at least one target to proliferate with the Khan's Bastion now. The token can go in at Lord Windgrace as well, so that is 5 damage on that thing. Oracle of Muldiah for the other lands player. And we see a Cyclonic Rift on top. Well, we know they've got it at least, so we can expect that to be held over our heads for the rest of the game. Innocent Blood, each player sacrificing a creature, so there's more than one Edict effect in the Negan deck apparently. Luckily we have a token to sacrifice, but they do have to sacrifice their own creature to that, so down goes Oracle of Muldiah. And hopefully they won't remove the Otharri. I know that it's a bit of a dilemma because we're getting experience counters here, but we're the only one that can deal with Lord Windgrace, and the last thing you want is for this thing to go off. Yeah, not sure why they really did the Innocent Blood there. It was a detriment to their creature, and all they really did was take away the Oracle. Lord Windgrace going for the plus again, this time getting rid of a Shockland. And they did activate the Ghost Town there, and then just decided to play it again, so not having the best of luck getting into lands apparently. Now, do they have removal for the Otharri is the question, because the Reaver Cleaver is going to be a total whiff if we go for the equip on that and they remove it, but hopefully we'll be able to get down the Otharri again next turn. It does rely on us getting into a land again. Yeah, I think we just have to go for it here because it could really accelerate us ahead. So Reaver Cleaver into play. Yeah, and the Jund player is holding up priority, so we'll just force them to use whatever removal they've got in hand. Do have a full grip over there. Noteworthy, they did discard to hand size a Multani, and now we're seeing the response, so likely our opponent has the removal, and yeah, destroy a non-land permanent that player controls, so we're getting removal out of our opponent's hands at least, but yeah, like I said before, that is a bit of a whiff. Noteworthy that we would have had a token to swing into the Lord Windgrace. There would have been an Oracle of Muldiah to throw in over here as well if it wasn't for the Innocent Blood. Really weird play that, I think. We made the Jund player tap out at least. Alright, there's Leyline of Anticipation, so all this is giving the Simic player more time as well, which is not what we want as an aggro player. Demon's Disciple, alright, well that will deal with the Lord Windgrace at least. Sylvan Scrying for Lord Windgrace will tutor up a land. And with that they went after a Reliquary Tower, so not fixing their colours. So a land here would be nice. We can try the Otharri again, alright, it's more mana at least. Get down Arcane Signet, and do we really care about Taurian Mauler at this point? I think we kill two birds with one stone with a Mondrak. If it stays in play we can hit Windgrace with it, and it's obviously an Anointed Procession as well. Obviously I'd like to play it into some tokens so that we can sacrifice those and give it indestructible, but needs must here. Could be seeing the Negan as well, which I don't think this player is really looking at the whole board, he's just looking at who he can do things to. So yeah, Negan making us blow up the Mondrak so that we can't attack Windgrace. Yeah, I don't know. At least Negan would be able to attack it in that case though. Still a reasonable number of cards in the two landfall players' decks though, and yeah, that player scoops. That's actually 2 games in a row this player's done this, so we'll have to ban this player. Yep, and as I thought, Negan the Cold-Blooded enters play. We can at least recast our commander next turn though, so yeah, that should help us get past the Edict effects as long as there's no more spot removal. And we'll start to see treasure tokens, which might make the Dockside Extortionist more relevant. Depends if they decide to use them straight away. Attack a Numar, mill 3 cards and return a creature or planeswalker from graveyard to hand. Lord Windgrace is in the bin, but they return the Multani to hand, so not wanting to use its own ability there. And down comes the Multani, so yeah, it could be that Negan has some more Edict effects in hand. They tend to be sorcery speed, so I think we should be able to land the Otharri. If we swing in at the Jund player, they might leave us alone regardless, but an Edict player allowing us into tokens isn't the best play either, so yeah, not sure here. The 10-10 goes in at Negan. Does have haste thanks to the anger, don't forget, that's in the bin. Okay, and blocking with the Negan, so maybe they recast Negan and get rid of this thing. Gonna be a removal heavy game by the looks of it. Yeah, the Negan being thrown into the command zone does encourage me to play out my commander and swing in at Negan to dissuade this thing from coming in at me. Like I said, they do have the mana held up for removal though. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Drawing to call the Coppercoats, that's not going to do much whilst we can't stick any creatures. If the commander gets removed again, then we need to bear in mind that I can throw out the Taurian Mauler, which is a rebel, and we can pay 4 mana and tap it to bring this thing back. And we can afford to do both in one turn here, so we'll have to put Otharri in the bin. So we'll go through to combat here and hope there's no instant speed removal from the Jund or the Mardu player. Doesn't seem to be holding up priority. So we get a couple more rebel tokens, and I'll attempt to show the Multani player that we are concentrating on Negan, because that might dissuade him from taking the Multani in at us. Although I do want to be looking over at Lord Windgrace, to be honest. So his next attack phase is going to dictate how we play out the game here, assuming that he still has Multani in play by then. Liliana Dreadhorde General, more Edict effects, but our commander can dodge that, thankfully. So ticking down on the Lily. A Bane of Progress, it's removal tribal this game, so our one means of ramp is gone here. That Reaver Cleaver wasn't a good play. I did know that my opponent could have some removal, I pointed it out in the commentary of course, and yeah, just tried my luck and lost. That's what happens when you gamble. Now the 5-5 with haste, are you going to swing in with the Lily? Okay. I would encourage one of my tokens to go in at Liliana personally. I'd swing in at his face. It's more damage there, and also it dissuades the tokens from hitting him. So what we could do here is encourage the Negan player to scoop it and keep bullying him. But, yeah, what to do here? Our opponent did just remove some of our stuff, so that warrants an attack in over there. Why don't we just go for an Anointed Procession here, and then we can double up the number of tokens that we're making. Obviously the Jund player could have Terminate or something, but let's take him south of his starting life total. And yeah, looks like we've managed to get some removal out of our opponent's hand. They did tap some mana down there, but I've decided against it. So we get 6 tokens to our 3 experience counters. We were getting them regardless once Otharri swings in. It doesn't matter if it's in play once the trigger has resolved. So let's take 3 into the left and 3 into the right. And we're not as reliant on the Taurian Mauler staying in play now. As long as we dodge a board wipe, we should be able to keep Otharri in play alright. Because obviously it enables itself with the Rebel tokens. And we're just holding up Call the Coppercoats here, which I highly doubt is going to be relevant, but the Lance player might throw down an Avenger of Zendikar or something. No real sense in failing to hold it up. See what removal our opponent's got this time. A Torment of Hailfire. We can just sacrifice the tokens to that, so yeah, we're being pretty resilient against our opponents here. So we'll still be left with a Rebel token to reanimate the Otharri if we need to. The Jund player going down to 16 there. And did discard the Multani, which they can't bring back to hand because they don't have the green mana. Charnel Horde Worm. 6/6 with Trample. When it deals damage to an opponent, return a card from your graveyard hand. Okay. Doesn't seem all that good in all honesty, but it does have haste, so that makes it considerably better. Not sure what they're aiming to grab back here, in all honesty. Might be time to start looking at the back of Lord Windgrace, especially now the life total's been depleted so much. So 6 damage to us from the Worm, leaving the Bane of Progress back as a 5/5 blocker. Has Trample, so there's no point going Call of the Coppercoats for chump blockers here. So the Charnel Horde Worm going on the stack, and aiming for the Valakut Exploration there, so just looking for some card advantage, which is going to be far too slow, I think. Still nothing for the Dockside Extortionist to see here. That is a Blade Historian, a very nice draw, so yeah, I think we get that down right now, and we can still hold up Call the Coppercoats on our opponent's turn. Might be able to win this turn thanks to that draw. Still got the Anointed Procession in play, of course. There could be a Nature's Reclaim, is it called, or Nature's Claim. It can blow up the Anointed Procession anyway. So 6 damage to the right. The Rebel token gets blocked. So we've got this player on 10 at the moment. Obviously Otharri will get us into 8 tokens this time. So they're on 10, 12, 14 and 16. And then these mean that we have exactly enough on this player here because there's 5 tokens left. So both of our opponents just deciding to take the damage. That was a hell of a top deck with the Blade Historian. That means that we get to dodge all the removal and we get the Alpha Strike on our opponent. So pretty good game for the Otharri deck. Shows how resilient it can be against so much removal. Still trying to play some of the older commanders even though they are not doing well in the views. I've been disappointed with some of the views even though you've been saying that you want to see older commanders. Not being backed up on that, unfortunately. But Otharri's a fun one regardless. I had fun with it, so hopefully those of you that did join me today enjoyed the video as well. Huge thank you to the patrons for their consistent support of the channel. They are the ones that are keeping me around at this point, so I do thank them profusely. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.